Before you hear how Pastor Paul was kidnapped, you need to know what happened just before it all began. Let's dive into the untold truth. It was a quiet, faithful Tuesday. As usual, Pastor Paul sat in his small counselling office, tucked away at the back of the church. He was calm, kind, and deeply patient, listening carefully to the burdens of his people. Not just a man of God, but a man of peace, a man who never turned anyone away. That afternoon, in the middle of a session, the door swung open. A young woman rushed in, her face soaked with tears. Her name was Jessica. "I must see the pastor," she cried. Pastor Paul gently asked the others to excuse them. Then he offered her a seat. Her hands trembled. Her voice shook. "My boyfriend beats me," she said, barely able to hold back her sobs. "Whenever I threaten to report him, he reminds me who he is." She went on to explain. His name, Andrew, a known street gangster, feared, connected, and dangerously untouchable. Jessica was scared for her life. "I need prayers and advice," she begged. "Please, Pastor. I don't know what to do." Pastor Paul leaned forward, his voice calm and fatherly. "Daughter, your safety matters. You shouldn't go back to that man. I will call the police myself." Moved by her pain, Pastor Paul did more than pray. He offered her shelter in his own apartment, just for the night. Jessica broke down in tears of relief, but what Pastor Paul didn't know was that the trap had already been set. That evening, after all his counselling sessions ended, Jessica lingered outside the church. As Pastor Paul walked to his car, she ran up to him. "Please, Pastor, I'm not safe." "He might find me tonight. Let me go with you." Pastor Paul hesitated, then nodded. "All right, get in." They drove in silence. Jessica sat in the front seat, her eyes locked on him the entire ride. At home, she offered to cook. She smiled, sweetly, too sweetly. My pastor, would you like to eat now?" Pastor Paul watched her closely. Something felt wrong, her tone, her eyes, her smile. "What's with that look?" he asked, suspicion rising. "Do you have a plan? Were you sent here for something?" Jessica giggled nervously. Then she leaned in, too close. She bit her lips, grabbed his shirt, and whispered, "Please, come closer." But Pastor Paul didn't fall. He shoved her away. "You daughter of Jezebel, I rebuke you in the name of the Lord! Leave my house now!" Embarrassed but not defeated, Jessica stormed out. But before she left, she secretly planted a tiny spy camera behind the curtain. She had gotten what she came for. That same night, she returned to her real master, Andrew. Together they watched the footage. Jessica smiled. Andrew smirked. "It's time," he said coldly. The next morning, Wednesday, Pastor Paul went to pray for a member who had just opened a new shop. He smiled as he blessed her. But far away, inside a black Camry, Andrew and his thugs were watching, waiting. As Pastor Paul drove home, they followed, quietly, carefully. Then, on a lonely road with no witnesses, a car sped ahead and blocked his path. Before he could react, the doors burst open. Faces covered, guns drawn. "Out of the car, man of God," one of them growled. Pastor Paul raised his hands, stunned. "What's going on?" No answer. They dragged him into the back seat and sped off, kidnapped, framed, betrayed by the very people he tried to save. The man who only wanted to help now found himself at the mercy of monsters, and his life hung in the balance. The night after Pastor Paul disappeared was unlike any other. The church compound fell into an eerie silence. The elders whispered in hushed tones. The choir cancelled rehearsals. Youth members checked their phones over and over, hoping for a missed call, a message, anything from their beloved pastor. But nothing came. No call, no message, no trace. By sunrise on Thursday, a heavy fog of worry settled over the entire church. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Then, at exactly 9:07 a.m., the church secretary, Sister Clara, received a message from an unknown number. It was a video file. Her hands trembled as she tapped it open. The screen flickered. A dim light revealed Pastor Paul, seated on a broken plastic chair, inside what looked like an abandoned warehouse. His hands were tied tightly behind his back, his white shirt stained, his face slightly bruised, but his eyes held calm defiance. Then a voice spoke from behind the camera, cold, flat, threatening. If you want your precious pastor alive, bring 5 million naira to the location we'll send. You have 48 hours, no police, no games, or the man of God dies. The screen went black. Sister Clara dropped the phone. Gasps echoed through the church office as staff and members gathered to watch the clip again. Panic spread like wildfire. Some screamed. Others fell to their knees, sobbing. Many began to pray, loud, desperate prayers that shook the very walls. But in the back row, Brother James, a young usher, remained unusually quiet. His eyes narrowed, his pulse quickened. He remembered something. From the day before Pastor Paul vanished, Jessica. She had lingered far longer than necessary after her counselling session. In fact, he had seen her slip back into the counselling room after everyone else had left. And her expression, it didn't match the terrified girl she had claimed to be. She looked smug, almost like she had accomplished something. No one else seemed to notice. But Brother James did. Meanwhile, Jessica sat at the front of the church during the emergency service, her face buried in a handkerchief. She wept, loudly, so loudly that even the elders had to comfort her. He was like a father to me, she sobbed. But behind the tears was a smile no one could see. Because the plan was working. No one suspected her. No one knew she had secretly planted a spy camera inside the counselling room. And no one imagined that she was at home, resting peacefully while the man who gave her shelter was tied to a chair in a cold, dark place. In that place, Pastor Paul sat quietly. He had been stripped of his phone, his Bible, even his wristwatch. But still, his lips moved, whispering verses, praying without ceasing. He didn't fear death, but he feared the damage this would do to his church and to his name. Watching him through a one-way glass was Andrew, Jessica's boyfriend, the man behind it all, a feared gang leader known for cruelty. "This man is unbelievable," Andrew muttered to one of his henchmen. "Even in chains, he still finds the strength to pray." His accomplice scoffed. "Maybe we should rough him up. That might silence him." Andrew smirked. "No, not yet. Let the church suffer first, then we destroy him completely." Back at church, the leadership held an emergency meeting. The elders gathered in a small office, faces tense, voices raised. "We need to pay the ransom," one said urgently. "But how?" another countered. "We barely have enough to cover next month's expenses." "Then we borrow," someone shouted. "Do we just sit and watch our pastor die?" Sister Clara finally spoke, her voice shaky. "Should we report this to the police?" "No," Elder Uche snapped. "Did you not hear what the video said? If we bring in the police, we risk his life." Silence. Then Brother James stepped forward. "I think Jessica knows something." Every eye turned to him. "What do you mean?" asked Elder Patience. "I saw her sneaking back into the counselling room the evening before Pastor went missing. She looked different, not afraid, just strange." Just then, Jessica entered the room, wiping her eyes. "That's not true," she shouted. "Why would I ever hurt Pastor Paul? He helped me when no one else did. He even let me stay in his house that night." A chilling hush fell. She had just admitted something. No one knew. The room turned cold. Jessica noticed their stares and quickly added, "It was nothing inappropriate. He just wanted to keep me safe, that's all." But something had changed. The room no longer looked at her with sympathy. Doubt had crept in. Later that night, while the church compound lay locked and silent, Brother James returned. He entered the counselling room, searching. He didn't know what he was looking for. He just felt something had been left behind. And then he found it, tucked behind the curtain, a tiny black camera. Still blinking, his heart pounded, his breath caught. Someone had been recording. The questions swirled. What did it capture? Who put it there? And how much of Pastor Paul's life was about to be twisted and destroyed? One thing was clear. The betrayal ran deeper than anyone thought, and the worst was yet to come. Brother James stood frozen, staring at the small blinking camera in his hand. This was no ordinary security device. It was deliberate, hidden, planted. His fingers trembled as he tucked it into his pocket, locked the counselling room, and left the church grounds without saying a word to anyone. He didn't trust Jessica. He didn't trust the silence that lingered in the room. Something in his spirit whispered, "This evidence must be protected." By midnight, he connected the camera to his laptop and hit play. What he saw made his heart drop. The video opened with Pastor Paul seated behind his desk and Jessica sitting directly across from him. At first, it seemed innocent, just a young lady seeking counselling. But then the tone shifted. Jessica stood up, walked toward the pastor, and tried to hug him. Pastor Paul gently resisted. "My body belongs to God," he said. She tried again. She bit her lip, she dragged his shirt and whispered things to hear. And then, clear as daylight, Pastor Paul stood, stepped back and rebuked her. "You daughter of Jezebel, leave my house!" The footage caught everything. She had tried to seduce him, he had rejected her. She stormed out, but not before planting that very camera. Brother James sat in shock, his eyes welled with tears. Pastor Paul was innocent, and this wasn't just a kidnapping. This was an attack, planned, calculated, cruel. He immediately sent the footage to elder patients and the church council. By morning, the entire leadership had seen it. The room was filled with silence. Then rage. "How dare she? She used us. She framed a man of God." Jessica was summoned, but she didn't show up. By noon, they discovered she had vanished. Her phone switched off. Her address empty. She was gone. Meanwhile, deep in the forest outskirts, inside a half-built warehouse surrounded by bush paths, Pastor Paul sat tied to a post, his head bowed in silent prayer. Days had passed. He was weak, hungry, wounded, but not broken. Then something strange happened. The air shifted. A gust of wind howled through the broken walls, and suddenly, inside the hideout, chaos broke out. The gangsters began arguing, first with whispers, then shouts, then fists. Accusations flew. "You stole part of the money? You think I'll die here for your mess?" The argument turned violent. Bottles smashed, punches flew. And in that moment, Pastor Paul knew this was his window. Led by an inner voice, the Holy Spirit, he quietly worked his tied hands against a rusted nail behind him. The rope began to fray. His wrists bled. But he didn't stop until finally they broke free. Pastor Paul ran. He dashed through the open side of the building and sprinted into the dense forest, not even sure where the path would lead. Thorns tore at his skin, branches struck his face. But he didn't stop. He ran and ran. Behind him, the arguing stopped. They realized he was gone. "Hey!" someone screamed. "He's escaping!" Footsteps thundered after him. Flashlights slashed through the trees. Dogs barked in the distance. Then, bang! A gunshot echoed, then another, then a third. The bullets sliced through the air as Pastor Paul disappeared deeper into the forest, and then silence. The birds stopped chirping. The trees stopped moving. The screen fades to black, and all we hear are 3 distant gunshots echoing. Did he fall? Did the bullet hit? Or did he escape? We don't know. Not yet. Episode 4, The Forest Will Decide. Coming soon. Where are you watching from? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Pastor Paul survived? Because this is no longer just a story. This is war in the spirit and in the flesh. To be continued. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so when the next episode drops, you'll be the first to watch it.